Okay. Well, I've got all my translations ready to go.
Okay,
Should we go ahead and jump right into it?
sure.
Okay, so from I hate to say the original because it's probably not the original, but the most common book. 11. 30 spokes share the wheel's hub. It is the center hole that makes it useful. Shape clay into a vessel. It is the space within that makes it useful. Cut doors and windows for a room. It is the holes which make it useful. Therefore, profit comes from what is there. Usefulness comes from what is not there.
Yeah, I like that. Who was that? Who was that by?
Oh, that's just like I said, I always call it the original, but so that is this is one of the oldest translations. It's Lao Tzu. That's how you say his name, I believe.
That's the guy that's speaking all this stuff. The
Yeah.
guy who what's the name of the guy who translated it?
Oh, it's actually two. It's so I don't know if you can see that down there. Oh, sorry.
Jane English and another guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? Shoot. I have a fourth translation I found out recently that do you know of the author Ursula K. Le Guin? She recently did a translation of the Tao Te Ching. And I was very interested in that because I was a big fan of hers growing up. Mainly, there's one book by her that really grabbed me and kind of became one of my, I like to say touchstones, but kind of made me who I am. And it was the book called The Word for World is Forest. Was a book by her. And it was a short little book, mainly for, what is it called, YA, right? Young adults. But it was just so beautiful. Yeah. So, we've got someone else joining us. I didn't even notice over here. I wasn't expecting anyone. They were late and I just wasn't looking. Hopefully they're still going to join. There we go.
Oh, Ruben, great.
Sorry, Ruben. We got to talking and I didn't even see you up there waiting to be admitted. So hope you weren't waiting too long. Is he muted? No. Okay. You weren't waiting too long, were you? Okay, good. I wish I would have gone down and checked the mailbox because I think it's probably in the mailbox, but oh well, I guess next time. So we just finished reading this translation. Okay, and we're moving on to my little cards from the Tao box that I have.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Cool.
And this is, of course, 11.
Check. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Excellent.
So usefulness. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Usefulness of nothing. The 30 spokes of a carriage wheel, uniting at the nave, are made useful by the hole in the center where nothing exists. Vessels of mottled earth are useful by reason of their hollowness. Doors and windows are useful by being cut out. A house is useful because of its emptiness. Thus, we use what is not to make use of what is. So along the same vein, but I think this one's a little bit more poetic, which is maybe not always a good thing. Okay, and then my third translation is by Thomas Cleary. There we go. And this was entitled 30 Spokes. 30 spokes join at the hub. Their use for the cart is where they are not. When the potter's wheel makes a pot, the use of the pot is precisely where there is nothing. When you open doors and windows for a room, it is where there is nothing that they make useful to the room, that they are useful to the room. Apologize. Therefore, being is for benefit. Non-being is for usefulness. So I know you have a translation, Brett.
Yeah. Stephen Mitchell's. Okay. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use.
Yeah, so far that's my favorite, combined with this Thomas Cleary one. Do you have one to share, Ruben?
I do. So, and this is chapter 11, correct?
Yes.
11 and 12 or just 11?
Just 11, what we're doing right now.
Yeah. This one is by Oliver Benjamin. It's a much less commonly known translation, but he has a really unique take. It says, a wheel is fashioned from spokes, yet it is the emptiness at its hub which allows it to function. A bowl is molded from clay, yet it is the hollow at its center which allows it to be used. A house is structured from timber and stone, yet is the empty space within which affords its value. Therefore, although presence provides property, empty space affords utility.
Anyhow,
What happens? So about this chapter, so just a little bit about me. I teach a class to adults, and there's this mentality, an observation we make that says that there's no room for new information if your cup is already full. You have to be receptive, open. You have to have the potential. And this is the students we have the most challenge with, are the students that have some prior education of what we're teaching. We're teaching computer science. If they have some information already, they have to learn to unlearn it first. And I think that I feel like that's really some of the message that's coming across here, is that concept that you have to understand, know that you don't know that there are people that have different perspectives, know that, or at least accept that, not necessarily know, but accept that there's more that maybe you don't understand. There's more to the world than what you can see with your eyes, that you can detect with your five senses. And it's a very common theme in the Tao Te Ching, and I feel like that's what we're talking about here. We're going back to Bo, the uncarved block, the limitless potential of who you are. And they say true wisdom comes from knowing you don't know. And I feel like that's the message, or that's at least part of the message that Leslie's getting across here, is being open to the possibility that there can be more experiences beyond what you accept to be fact or the way it's supposed to be. There's more. There are more perspectives. There's more understanding. There are more levels. There's more depth. As I have another quote. So they say, what's beyond the beyond? Most people can't see past what's right in front of them. Some people can see beyond, but we have to be receptive that there's a beyond the beyond.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take on this. I wasn't thinking along those lines with this. I was down in the nitty gritty part. But that's a really cool idea. I mean, I think that's really interesting because that's one of the bad things about our evolutionary state is that we get taught the truth when we're kids, whatever our parents want us to think in the society culture and the state government, the government is involved in this also because they want us to be a certain way and believe we're responsible for everything and throw us in jail if we make a mistake. So and it's you back up from the planet and it's like the whole planet is kind of in this like walking zombie state, and no one's open to new information at all, possibly partly because the information they have isn't fulfilling and satisfying enough, and they're scared to death that it's just completely not, no good. And then what, it's like, what do they hold on to at that point? So I think all kinds of different things might be happening under the surface here that we can't see. And another thing popped into my head was, when you think about consciousness, it's like, it's so much an integral part of us and it's so not understood. And most of the time you can walk through life and not even realize or think about the fact that you are conscious, and so how do you get in touch with something that's everything and nothing at the same time? And you have to have a really strong open mind in order to tackle that, and that's I find that to be an incredible part of life. And so anyway, yeah, so thanks for that interpretation. It really got my mind going there.
Yeah, there's definitely a group of people, I'm sure we've all experienced at least one person in our life where you try to explain to them something new and they just won't accept it, right? And it's really interesting when they bring these teachings. This is explaining to Brent, what the last time we met was that they teach mindfulness and they teach yoga and they teach all these really interesting things. All those are just Taoism and Buddhism in a fancy box. It's using different words so that people can be more receptive. When you try to explain to someone who can't accept that that's a thing, like there's this, Alan Watts has a whole book about this. It's the taboo of knowing who you are, because we feel as people, we feel like we're the voice in our head, we're our thoughts, we're our experiences. We're not that at all. We're the person, we're the thing that's listening to the thoughts. You're not the voice, you're the audience.
Rupert Shira, have you heard of Rupert Shira?
Rupert Spira.
Spira, sorry.
There we go.
Yeah, he says a lot of that, so.
And so to connect back to this chapter, it's be receptive to that. There's more. It's the first chapter of the book, right? If you can put it into words, that's not it. If I can explain it or write it down, that's not it. There's more. And we have to have that space, because if we're full and we're a stick in the mud and we think we know it already, we're not going to retain new knowledge.
Yeah, and think about the idea of the negative emotions that get to us. And it's like the last thing we want to do is deal with those, look at those, be with those. We want to get out of there and we want to get away as fast as we possibly can. And the triggering agent, which could be a person who said something to you to get you to feel, that way. They are the teacher of what you're going to deal with from that point on if you respond in that way. And to tell the average person that it's not that difficult to be with those feelings, because they're never as bad, as what you think. And I've been going through an emotional thing with myself for the last few months over various things. And I finally got to the point where I was just laying there and wishing I was dead practically. And all of a sudden I started asking myself this question, like, okay, how bad is this? I mean, if there was no story to go along with this, that this person disrespected you, if that story wasn't present and you were just feeling this weird stomach feeling and this weird feeling in your chest, is that really so bad? And I thought to myself, well, no, because I've had much greater pain in my body than this. So all of a sudden, the story about why I was feeling this way sort of pulled itself away from the actual intense feelings I was having at the time. And then I started realizing, wow, that what I've heard before from other people about just be with the feeling, and it will pass and it's not as bad as you think. The intellectual knowledge of that finally came down in a visceral level, and I got the message. But I had to be that in that place, I had to be messed up as messed up as I was in order to start thinking differently, and see what's down underneath the surface that you're pointing to. Yeah.
I mean, that's when I found the Tao in the first place. Was I was in that spot. I felt despair. I felt lost. And I still feel this every time I read a chapter. It just fills me with this deep sense of peace. Like the things that I'm experiencing are going to pass. But I really like what you said earlier, about they want us to make decisions, and we decide a lot of those things as children. So I've actually been applying this chapter to my life. It's very small, but still I'm applying it. So one of the things that I've decided was that if I decided it's this way and that's the way it's going to be, and if I made that decision when I was 8 years old, it's time to look at it again. So I started thinking about just a really simple application of it. So for example, everybody has foods they like and don't like, right? If someone offers me a food that I've said for many years, I don't like to eat that, and I ask myself, when was the last time I had it? And if it's when I was a child, then I'm going to try it again. And so just recently, I decided when I was 9, 10, I didn't like the taste of pineapple. And then within the last about 8 months or so, I said, well, you know what? Maybe it's time to try pineapple again. And I enjoyed it, which it was not at all about the fixed state that was in my mind.
Yeah, I can hear you, because the same thing, there are foods I eat now, some green vegetables and stuff that I couldn't stand when I was a kid, and I was forced to eat them. And I think that reinforced the idea of never touching them again. And I just, I didn't even know I was eating them. And all of a sudden I realized one day, hey, I'm eating this. And when I was a kid, I hated this. And, it just sort of happened on its own. Yeah.
Okay, well, my kids just brought me my 4th translation here.
Great.
So I was telling Brett about this earlier. So that's by actually Ursula K. Le Guin. So she started off as a science fiction writer. She's written a lot of stuff since then. So I don't think you can really define her as a science fiction writer anymore. But she has 11 as the uses of not. 30 spokes meet in the hub, where the wheel isn't where it's useful. Hollowed out clay makes a pot, where the pot's knot is where it's useful. Where the pot's knot is where it's useful. That's kind of weird. Cut doors and windows to make a room. Where the room isn't, there's room for you. So the profit in what is in the use of what isn't. So this whole thing, for me, really boils down to those last 2 lines. And I really liked your translation, Brent. And then this one, where therefore being is for benefit, non-being is for usefulness. So Ruben, part of my background, a big portion of my background is Carlos Castaneda. And that's kind of where I started from. And since I've studied that for so many years, I found out that there is, again, like you're saying, everything is kind of linked to Buddhism, Taoism. Everything has this common link. It's one reason why I started my church, just because so many of these spiritualities, beliefs, philosophies have a common link. And one of the main focuses, actually probably the main focus of Toltechism or Nagualism, or the art of sorcery, whatever you want to call it, is about freeing your being. So this line about being is for benefit, non-being is for usefulness, strikes me because it's all about freeing your energy. And what that means in a Toltec sense is every experience we have as a corporal being in this world, we're all made of energy. And this energy passes through us. And because of what I think is our ego, it gets trapped into these energy configurations. And so part of that philosophy of Carlos Castaneda is about untrapping that energy to free it up. So think of our being as a kind of a tangled mess of energy filaments, where sometimes there's such big knots there, where we've just, some things are just so ingrained in us, mainly from when we're children, where all this energy is just trapped and tangled, and it's really about neural pathways, our experience and our thoughts. So our brain doesn't have to think about these things anymore. It can bypass it because it's like, I've already experienced that. And so our energy gets trapped in these configurations. And one of my daily meditations is to try to untangle all of that and to free my energy, so I don't have those kind of prejudices, so that my mind doesn't have to look at an experience and just let it pass me by, because it's like, oh, I've already seen that before. I've already experienced that before. I don't need to give it any attention. And that's really another thing that the Taoist or all these things talk about, is attention. And so your mind wants to take these shortcuts and not give all these things attention, because it's like, oh, I've already seen that before. So everything we experience becomes just like this act of prejudice, prejudging it because of some past experience we've had. And I'm sorry that was so long-winded, but that's what it comes down to. Non-being, to not have that prejudice, to not just assume because of something you've experienced in the past. It frees you up. If you let go of those prejudices, if you let go of those assumptions, then that moment, that experience that you're in now becomes useful, because you're free, you're clear, you're empty. And then that becomes this energy that fills your being.
Right in that moment.
Yes.
That's
Everything.
that's a key point, boy. Be focused on what's happening right now. But you know, the issue, the problem is, if you're having a negative feeling about something, or a feeling that just says, oh, I know all this already, it's easy to miss stuff. But there's something that has to happen inside in order to catch it. In other words, there has to be a thought arise. Oh, this is one of those things I need to, be aware and awake and to be able to deal with right now, rather than just assume I already know about that. That thought, that feeling in that moment must be there, or we just like go through like we always would, if you know what I mean. Like right in this moment, like this is where we're at, and this is what we're talking about. We have no idea what's coming next, where it will take us, you know. So it's so like the next moment, we're not defining that, we're not making that happen. It's just coming as it does. So I always like to look at that, because that is really the truth. So I can tell myself right now, oh, from now on, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then the event will happen, and then if I'm lucky, I'll remember it, and I'll go, oh, you know what, I didn't apply that then. But at the moment that it was happening, if that feeling wasn't there to apply it, then I wasn't even in my consciousness. So there's never a reason to be down on yourself for the past, ever, because what happened had to happen that way. And you know that information goes into the mind brain, and it will be remembered if it is, it will be applied if it is, and it may not be. So if just knowing that can make you feel better right here and now, as we go over this stuff.
They said we run into things like that in our lives. My wife and I will I always reassure, well, it's going to play out the way it's meant to play out. But it should have been like this, and it should have been, no, it's going to happen the way it was supposed to happen. It's always going to happen the way it was supposed to happen. You can't, we don't have the ability to change the world by force. You have to just accept it. I really like what Alice said, and I have this great quote that lined up with this. I believe it's a Bodhidharma quote, but I will forgive me if I quote this incorrectly.
Let me just stop you there for a second. This is going to be
Yeah.
the last thing on this we're going to say, because we have to move on to that second first. So we have enough time for it. So go
Sure.
ahead.
And someone speaks up to Bodhidharma, who is, of course, one of the immortals, the Taoist immortals. And he says to him, what would you teach a man? The first thing you would teach a man who came to you for teaching? He says, I would teach him mind and Buddha. Well, then when he masters that, what will you teach him then? Then I will teach him not mind, not Buddha. And what happens if he masters that? He's all, then I will teach him nothing and just let him experience the great Tao.
I like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, so number 12. That was good. I got a lot out of that. Thank you guys for sharing. So 12 out of this one. The 5 colors blind the eye. The 5 tones deafen the ear. The 5 flavors dull the taste. Racing and hunting madden the mind. Precious things lead one astray. Therefore, the teacher is guided by what he feels and not by what he sees. He lets go of that and chooses this. I like how these kind of tie in together. I think it's really helpful to kind of read 2 back to back like that. So here's from the card. Providing for the soul. Too much light will blind one's vision. Blaring sound will make one deaf. Excessive taste will ruin one's palate. The chase will make for heedlessness, I'm sorry. Let me read that again. The chase will make for heedlessness and precious things for temptation. Therefore, does the wise one provide for the soul and not for the senses. Caring for one, the wise takes the other with both hands. Totally different visualization there for me. There's Thomas Cleary's colors. Colors blind people's eyes. Sounds deafen their ears. Flavors spoil people's palates. The chase and the hunt craze people's minds. Goods hard to obtain make people's actions harmful. Therefore, teachers work for the middle and not the eyes, leaving the later and taking the former. And finally, the new translation I just got. This one is called Not Wanting. The 5 colors blind our eyes, the 5 notes deafen our ears, the 5 flavors dull our taste. Racing, chasing, hunting drives people crazy. Trying to get rich ties people into knots. So the wise soul watches with the inner, not the outer eye, letting that go, keeping this. So if you'll go ahead, Brent.
Yeah. Colors blind the eye. Sounds deafen the ear. Flavors numb the taste. Thoughts weaken the mind. Desires wither the heart. The master observes the world, but trusts his inner vision. He allows things to come and go. His heart is open as the sky.
Ruben, do you have one?
I do. Too much light blinds the eye. Too much sound deafens the ear. Too much spice blunts the taste. Too much excitement maddens the mind. Too much desire compromises the character. This is why the sage puts his inner needs first by moderating the external distractions of his senses.
It kind of leaves out a little bit out of that last part that these others find that odd. But doesn't this tie in perfect, at least to me, to I was just saying that all these other senses that we have, if you let yourself be prejudiced in that way and just like saying, okay, well, I've tasted this before. Like you said with the pineapple, you know, I've already tasted pineapple before, I don't like it. That's a prejudice. So by letting all that go, letting your senses go, letting your preconceptions go, letting the spice or, you know, whatever else that has a memory inside of you, by letting that go, everything becomes this new experience. As I was saying earlier. So when we talk about, so I replace sage with teacher because it's a little bit more modern and people I think can understand it better. And so again, it comes down to these last 2 lines, I think kind of are, this one happens to be 4 lines. And I really liked your translations, Brent. This one says, so the wise soul watches the inner and not the outer eye. And I guess that's kind of another thing I was trying to say when it came to when you let all that go, you can feel, and what Carlos Castaneda calls it is seeing, but seeing can happen in so many different ways. And it's just about opening your awareness. I've had bouts of seeing that are just like suddenly knowledge, I feel like is just like inserted into me. You know, it's like all of a sudden I just know something. Other times it's been like smell. I've had a smell that suddenly I was given knowledge by a smell. Also, you know, sound. I've had a certain sound or buzzing in my ears or something where it opened my awareness to a different level because I didn't prejudge that sense. I didn't prejudge that experience. I was able to open myself up fully and see and listen and experience with a different mind. I hope that makes sense.
No, I completely makes sense. I love this translation because you can take it literal too if you'd like. So for example, if I look directly at the sun, what happens? It damages your eyes.
Yeah.
It's literally too much light.
There you go.
right.
I did that
If-
a lot when I was a child.
If I listen to sounds that are too loud, what happens? You get tinnitus. Your ears cannot handle it. So there's this concept. So some of this, I feel like a lot of this chapter has to do with, and I'm going to take this to a different level now, has to do with taming the senses, taming the desire as a whole, which in Buddhism they call that dukkha, or thirst, or suffering. It's the same, it's all that same word. They have a word that refers to it. It's one of the Four Noble Truths. We have this thing, and it happens a lot, especially in the Western world and in the United States. We have this concept called hedonic adaptation, where it is, I really want to own this kind of TV. Okay, then I go get it, but then that becomes the new normal. But now I want a better TV. Then I go get that, and that becomes the new normal. Well, now I want a better TV, and there's always going to be that next level. And we get used to this, like, you grow up eating ramen, and then you have home cooked meals all the time, and now that's the normal. You expect it. It is every single facet, and a lot of it has to do with the senses. Really, it is the dopamine in our body's just not firing, and we're chasing this thing. But you can get the same pleasure, probably more. I would definitely more pleasure in sitting in nature and just listening than you can buying anything on earth. If you're receptive, and if you're not looking for that little bit of dopamine, the little chase that we're really accustomed to being, it is really being mindful. Anything can be beautiful. Drinking ice water while totally mindful is just, it's a beautiful experience. It's really tasting it, having the temperature flow down. You can feel it enter your chest if you do it mindfully. And so that's the message I'm getting from this, is you don't let your senses lie to you. Don't let them distract you. Okay. You're surrounded by beauty, by experience beyond your comprehension, if you just open your eyes and see them. That's the inner eye, right? Not the outer eye. And we'll go back to what I was saying before about, and again, mindfulness, the idea, if you practice it actively, when you meditate, when I try to meditate, I try to clear my mind, because we're so used to having our mind go and go and go and go. We don't know what silence sounds like. We don't know how to experience it. And it's beautiful, and it's there anytime you want it. Anytime you want it, to just sit and quiet yourself, and it's there. There are so many things that we're numb to. Here's a fun trick if you ever want to do a body scan. Calm your mind and then search for the buzz. Okay, this is the way it was explained to me, but really just calm your senses and search for your body's natural vibration. And you'll find it everywhere. We'd never feel it unless you stop. And you stop trying to watch TV, and you stop trying to buy things. You just listen, really listen with your inner eye.
It's funny because I find myself in that kind of meditation sometimes. And not only is there that vibration, but then my body will suddenly have this like weird sway, just automatically. So I completely understand what you're talking about.
I was doing a standing meditation, a Taoist meditation, under this tree in the park, and it was windy. And by the end of the meditation, I felt the rhythm of the tree. I felt the turning of the earth. It was just beautiful. And this amazing experience came from from rejecting the senses, from quieting them. And then I was able to experience that.
I think it's always present, like it's always here. Like you can feel it right now. It's just it's like in another dimension as we, look with our eyes into this four-dimensional space-time world. Behind all that and outside all that is the space where this is held. And this is why I talk out loud to myself, because it focuses my attention on the present moment, and it helps to experience this. Unfortunately, on this planet, all the kids are told, different things, and you get as much money as you can, and you can buy all the experiences you want. And you look at people with a lot of money, and instead of spending it on things that would help people, because so many people are hungry every night when they go to bed on this planet, they're into just getting more money or buying a new house or whatever it is. It's like everybody's striving for it. And I had a roommate once who bought herself a new car because she thought it was going to make her happy, and she told me it worked for about 2 weeks, and then it was just a hunk of iron that got her from place to place again. So it's funny, and it's also sad at the same time to look at what goes on this planet in the chase to be happy, when it's a very happy place to be when you're not thinking about any of those things, and you're just experiencing what's happening, like right now inside.
Can we all just take a moment now for a minute and just, because what you shared, Ruben, was just beautiful. I've had meditations like that before. I used to be an actual tree hugger. When I lived in Albuquerque, I really felt connection to trees. People thought I was crazy, at least my friends did, but I would talk to trees. And the way I would do that is by hugging them. And I did. I felt I could talk to them. Yeah, call me crazy if you want to, but I kind of knew their story, and I would talk to all kinds of trees. So, and I always got something different from each tree. So can we just take a moment and kind of do our own little meditation where we just feel now and feel our own vibration and feel the earth? So I'm sure we're all in a pretty comfortable spot. So. Namaste, Adonai. Thank you. And I love you. Thank you. That was beautiful. So we can go back to it. How are we doing on time here? Yeah, we got
10
10
minutes.
So anything pop up for anybody there?
I wanted to say how futile that chase is, that game that people play. It's interesting to observe it because they aren't aware they're trapped in that place. It is You ever go to someone's house who owns everything? Where's all that stuff? On shelves, collecting dust. Not being used, not being enjoyed. It's there so that they can say it's there. I own this, so I can tell people that I own it. It is, I'm so happy to be aware of how fruitless that chase is, so that I know never to get caught. And I'll have to, everybody slips, I correct myself. I don't need to buy something. I don't need to have the best of anything. I don't need to be the first to experience something. It doesn't make it any better. Right?
Well, because if you're clear like that, if you are open and empty, everything is a first for you.
Right.
You can even enjoy that person's house that you're in with all this stuff. You could actually just get into all this stuff while he was showing it to you. And, I mean, that would be the moment. And, I mean, even the stuff that you want to get away from, it's like, why do you want to get away from it? Really, there's something there to be seen. That's a good lesson in life, is just knowing that if it's bothering you, you need to pay attention to it. You need to look at it. If it doesn't feel good, it needs your attention in the worst way.
When my wife and I were planning our wedding, we had this 2-year plan that we had worked on, and it just became this big old mess. And finally, I said this commitment. I said, if it stresses you out, let's not do it. Also, I don't care if I have the perfect meal or the perfect people or the perfect tasks. I care that you're going to become my wife that day, and that's all I care about. So if we had people that upset us, we didn't invite them. If having a caterer stressed us out, we didn't have one. It wasn't about that. We just went to this beautiful beach with 5 people, and that's where we got married. After planning for like 2 years and collecting all this stuff to make it happen, because you lose the picture in the stuff, right? And you're having arguments about things that sit on tables and paper that wraps around chairs. It's silly. It's really silly. See, I don't get to keep that. I get to walk away with my wife. And if that's the only thing that I cared about, and we had a very simple ceremony, it was beautiful. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
They say you can't take it with you when you die. And what really does that mean, though? Because you can take something with you when you die, and that's your experience. And if in Toltechism, that's your energy, that's your personal energy that you've collected. So that's what you take with you when you die. It has nothing, it's not monetary, but yes, you do take something with you when you die, and that's your experience. I have other beliefs that, all these experiences that we have and these energy configurations, they're all given back to the all upon death. And that's, I don't want to go into it too much, but that's where my sense of morality comes from, is because that's what I'm giving back to love. That's what I experience in this life and how I judge that and how I filter that. And I guess the color of my energy, when it's given back to the all, that becomes creation. So each of us and our energy and our experiences helps create the world.
That sounds like the Kabbalion, is that right? Was that from the Kabbalion?
I have no idea. That's
where I heard the all before, so I was just curious.
Like I said, sometimes in my past, I've knowledge, what I call knowledge and truth. I don't try to give it to anybody else. I don't shove it down anybody's throat, but that's just what I was given. So that's the way I was, told to,
So
or whatever.
you're right? The book it came from doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the act of sharing it. And I love your idea. I've had the same thought. I feel like a lot of the ancient cultures are saying the same thing. It's when they start naming gods that it changes. But when you go right to the back beginning, it's we're one, bring love, respect yourself, don't give in to external things to have you lose your way. They're all saying the same message.
Yeah, exactly. They all have a common thread. And I think it's when you come down to when you start judging another religion or spirituality or philosophy and saying, oh, that's wrong. I think that's when everything starts becoming a miss. Because
Right.
no, it's not wrong. Nothing is wrong and nothing is truly, it's whatever works for you that gets you there to that spot, to that, exactly what we're talking about, to that state of non-being, to that state of openness, to that state of peace and love. And that's what matters.
I had this analogy I used to say, would say let's say you were taking your life with you and you were going to leave forever, you could pick 5 feelings to pack in a suitcase and take with you. 5 things that you experience. That's it, nothing else. Okay. What's going to go in that suitcase? Are you going to put possessions in that suitcase, or are you going to put love? Are you going to put resentment, or are you going to put joy? Are you going to put being right? Or are you going to put peace? That's in when you only get 5 to take with you. So really, those are the important things. It's joy, it's peace, it's the experience, it's love, it's all of those things. Those are the things that are important. Those are the things that we would take with us. Those are the things that you would take with you when you move on. We're not going to take greed and pride and resentment and grudges. Why would I take that with me? I would take that in place of joy. That makes no sense. Right? So those are the things that we should prioritize always.
Yeah.
Including like right now, because the time you're talking about when we're going to leave our bodies and take these things with us, like that happens every minute, every moment. Like the next moment is a new life. It could be, so all those things, if they're truly, felt to be what I want to have and take with me, then you've got them already right now, and you're moving with them into the next moment all the time. So, focus on those things always, and then you won't be worried about what you have when you die.
I try to tell my 3-year-old that. It doesn't really compute.
We'll get there.
But I'm starting to get there with my 9-year-old. I tell him, I go, do you really want to waste your energy being frustrated and angry? I mean, wouldn't you rather just let that go? It's already gone anyhow. You're the one holding on to it.
You're not going to be successful with children with that.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Oh, I don't know if they're teaching mindfulness in elementary schools now. Maybe.
We'll see. We'll see.
I
I
would
actually
love to
wanted
see
to
that
start a
change.
mindfulness practice at my son's school. So
They got to go home to their parents. That's the problem.
yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's a lot of where that comes from. That's that same thing though. When you move on, what are you gonna be fondest about? What are you gonna wish you took with you? Your experiences, your love, or your sports card?
Yeah.
I'm gonna wish I had more experiences.
If I'm
That's
going on vacation,
more
someone
joy.
might- if I'm going on vacation, someone might say, well, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to take my sports car.
Well, thank you, you guys, for your time, for sharing your knowledge, your experience, and for being here, for showing up, and for caring. So that's.
I couldn't help it.
Thank you for hosting. I really enjoy these meetings.
Awesome. And again, I apologize to you that I wasn't here that one day. I tell you, COVID does into your brain. I just.
You don't need to- you don't
It
need to
happened how it was
apologize.
supposed to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah, except the fact you got it.
Yeah. I feel great now, so it's already in the past. It's gone. Okay, well, thank you. And I look forward to next week, you guys. So.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.